Good afternoon, everybody. I want to start off by thanking our host, Dr. Hussam Qasrawi, for inviting me, as well as Amid East and Dr. Marwan. I'm delighted to be here. This is not my first trip to Palestine. It's almost like a second home. I've been here for 4 times. Every time it had to do with one of the centers that has been established, the Centers for Learning and Teaching. So it is really my honor and privilege to be back here again. What I'm going to be talking today is that essentially the Centers for Learning and Teaching are the point of reference where we can actually do some innovation. And I'm going to start off, let me just get this straight here. Yeah. I'm pressing on the wrong button. Oh, there it is, okay. I'm not saying anything new when I say that there's been really a dramatic change on the higher education landscape. There have been 3 critical developments: changes in pedagogical emphasis, where we're going away from teacher-centered to student-centered. The dramatic, of course, developments in ICT, and the globalized digital economy that requires students that have very different skills than when I graduated and when many of us have left the scene. So the landscape is very complex. In the past, we were just talking maybe of teaching, if you want. Now we speak of pedagogy. We have learners that are very different than just 10, 15 years ago. We have technology that comes into the scene. And in addition, we have the space where we teach and where our students learn that are different. So when we're talking about learning, we have to take all of this into consideration. And when we come to the faculty, and like we said before, that faculty really tend to teach the way they've been taught. And for many of us, that did not take any of this into consideration. So somebody said this morning that we learn to navigate the landscape. I think that Dr. Marwan may have said that. And that is exactly what many faculty find themselves. I'm going to talk about change, and change in institutions of higher education occurs very, very slowly. And when it does occur, there is tension. And I think I can talk about that a little bit. Our university is going through dramatic changes these days, and people are having a very difficult time adjusting to it. So I'm borrowing here a model that was talked about a long time, quite a few years back by one of the educators called Carmel McNaught, which I have met, and adapted it to what's going on at universities. There is the old versus the new. And whenever you have the old versus the new, you have tension. And it becomes us versus them. And what she's saying, really, it shouldn't be us versus them. It should be us and them, or the old and the new, and that it should be going from one to the other should be incremental. So I have here what is supposedly the old, and for some of us, we're going to see that this is not really old. For example, we have the old is the commercial platforms, the physical library, the text-based curriculum, the teacher-centered teaching, the emphasis on individual learning, the subject-centered curriculum, the isolated classrooms, information technology, and university-based learning. And contrasting this to what is new, instead of university-based learning, we aim for lifelong learning. Instead of information technology, we're talking about information literacy. And I can go on and on. My favorite is that instead of emphasizing competition and the individual learning, we are emphasizing cooperative learning or collaborative learning. Instead of subject-centered curriculum, we're encouraging interdisciplinarity. And instead of a simple classroom, we're really talking about learning spaces that are wireless and that are beyond the classroom. And we can go on and on and on. So this is what what higher education today and people that are involved in teaching are facing. And it requires some adjustment. How do you go from what one is used to incorporating all of that, or doing it well? And just for fun, I tried to see where the American university where I work, where we stand, and there we have a little bit of, here are some stars, and as you see, we are above the equator, so we are still in the older model rather than in the newer model, and we're striving to go towards the older. So typically, what is needed in most institutions of higher education is innovation, and we certainly recognize an important engine of growth. And I looked up just for fun, how we define innovation, and I have copied it from, the dictionary. And what it says over here is a new idea. Okay, so everybody knows that that's it. But also, it is the process, the act or the process of introducing the ideas. So it's not simply the idea itself, but even if there's somebody else has the idea, what is the process of introducing them? And I've removed the stuff that doesn't have to do with higher education. So introducing new ideas or methods into the curriculum or into our teaching and learning is an innovation. And of course, there's the business model also that says more or less the same thing. It says the process of translating an idea into a service that creates value. And if you noticed, I've removed or for which customers will pay, because our faculty don't pay for that service, and I'm focusing on the faculty right now. All right, there is no really standard solution or bullet, as they say, a silver bullet to institutionalize innovation. But there are conditions that encourage innovation, and that is where institutions can do something about it. And I'm going to focus on what these conditions may be. And actually, the whole theme of this talk really has to do with teaching centers. I believe very strongly that teaching centers are the vehicle for facilitating innovations in higher education. So the main role is to build sustainable professional developments, and the teaching centers, as far as I'm concerned, is really focused on faculty development and not necessarily students, but hopefully that the students are the ones who are going to reap the benefits. Their role is to nurture innovation and to address the diverse needs of different disciplines. That's the challenge. We have a teaching center. It has to address the needs of engineers, of business people, of the people from the social sciences, of language, etc., etc. That is quite a menu. And so how do you do that? Well, first of all, you provide opportunities for collaboration among faculty, for professional development, and for experimentation. And do that very slowly. Proceed with incremental innovations. I'm going to explain right now. And of course, sometimes it needs adequate funding, So if we're lucky enough and the administration supports you, then they will fund you. Or if you're lucky enough to have a grant like some of the teaching centers, the seed grant, that also, that helps. And of course, we have to consider what would be the barriers to that. I'm just telling you what the possibilities. So the barriers are 4, and that's not innovation in any field, not just teaching and learning. One of them, of course, inadequate funding. If there is no money there, you cannot grant teaching grants to faculty. You cannot have professional development programs. You cannot allow them to take some time off to develop a curriculum. All of that requires money and requires the leadership of the university to buy into it and to support it. You have another big barrier to innovation is that people are afraid to take risks. And if they're afraid to take risks, they will not innovate. Sometimes remaining in silos. And the big thing, again, in universities, typically we remain in our departments. We connect with others, but not as much, and so on. So that inhibits innovation. And of course, time. Time is the biggest thing as far as faculty is concerned. They do not have time, at least our faculty, do not have time to experiment, when at the end of the day, it is research that counts and not so much, experimentation in teaching. So what I'm going to try and say is that, in fact, teaching centers could help address some of these barriers. Typically, as I see it, and as our center was built, there are 3 main basis, if you wish: pedagogy, integration of technology, and assessment. These are the three things that are not even separate. They're all, integrated in one goal, and that is the goal. And these are the pillars that would enable and facilitate the innovations. In 2012, a group of people from, I don't know if you're familiar with EDUCAUSE, it's one of the leading institutions or group of people in the United States that look into learning and teaching, and a lot of their emphasis is on technology. Anyway, the EDUCAUSE Learning Initiative got together and discussed what is it that, categorize the type of innovation that can occur in an institution of higher education. And they divided it into three, okay? They said you can have core innovations, and typically that is the small incremental innovations that answers the question, what can we do better for our constituency? Then you have what they call evolutionary innovation, and that is what new experience can we give to our constituency? Not the first one I would call the bread and butter innovations. The second one are a little bit more novelty. Or what kind of experience can you offer our new constituencies? For example, let me give an example from AUC. At present, we are getting requests to use the experience that we have outside the university. So we're offering what we have, the current experience to a new constituency, which are NGOs or other places. Disruptive innovations, this is my favorite over here. What can we do radically differently and to a radically different audience? So you have these three types, and in fact, what you should be doing is balancing these three to a certain extent. And I would say that should not really necessarily happen with a new teaching center. Ours is one that has been there for about 12 years, so we can afford a little bit to do that. And typically, these same people said that for these three types of innovations, you should not divide your resources equally. The core innovation should still take 70% of your resources. The evolutionary one, 10%, and the disruptive one, which are really the more dramatic ones, only 10%, not more than that. So I'm going to, what I will do is share with you what we've done and what is it that, how do we translate these in a more mature center like ours. So allow me to give as an example what we're doing, because that is the thing that I know the best. And then we can open the discussion for differently. So the Center for Learning and Teaching was established in 2002 at the American University in Cairo. For those of you that know AUC, I'm just going to give a little bit of a very quick background. In 2008, we moved to a brand new campus out of Cairo. The old campus was in Tahrir Square, and luckily we moved out, or else we would have closed the university for about 2 years, because in Tahrir Square everything was happening since 2011. And then, so we've moved to this brand new campus. It has its own challenges because, again, this was change. And I have to tell you, human beings don't like change in general. So it's basically what they call the only liberal arts university in Cairo or in Egypt. It was founded about almost 100 years ago. It has 6,000 students, and the faculty to student ratio is 1:12. 56% are Egyptian, 33% are American, 11% are others. The Center for Learning and Teaching was founded in 2002 with a grant, a little bit like the centers here in Palestine. It was a Mellon grant. They gave it for 3 years. We worked on it. We had to prove ourselves during these 3 years so that the university adopts us, permanently. It was more like, it was a pilot, if you wish. And it is a type what we call a campus-wide center, like, again, most of your centers, is that it caters to all the faculty at AUC and to all the disciplines and all the schools. I report to the Dean of Libraries, which is under the Provost. And the first thing, is is what does your constituency, what's your constituency like? And what we find is that faculty like all faculties, are very private in their teaching. The teaching typically is not something that is disseminated very much. And the biggest obstacle they were complaining about was the time that they have to put in to learn new technologies. They were not complaining about their teaching at all. They were saying, that was not the problem. The problem is that some technologies were imposed upon them and they didn't want to do them, and they didn't want to bother with them. So to us, we are starting incrementally in order to address that question. We said, well, we have to give what they want. What they want, somebody to help them with technology. That's what we're going to be doing. And I'm back here to the barriers. So what I'm trying to say over here, that funding, it's not in our hands. We can apply for grants, so that works. But what is really in our hands is to help faculty face these three barriers. That we help them, take risks in a safe place, that's okay to fail because we're there. That is part of innovating. We help them get together and get out of the silos, because this is one place now where they are sharing, their teaching, or sharing what they're doing, and we help them resolve this business of time. And the way we did it was to give services that allow you to do that. So for them, at first, it was learning the new technologies. We decided to adopt an idea that I had seen done in the United States. And that was to get students, the graduate students mostly, or even undergraduate students, we train them and they would work on the faculty one-to-one. And that would solve their problem. Faculty love having somebody beside them and holding their hands if it has to do with technology. And that worked, the first group in 2002 was about 27 faculties. We had these students over here, these are old pictures, and we trained them, and the students loved the experience because they were learning something new, and the faculty loved the fact that it was a one-on-one thing. Today it has evolved. Let's say this was an innovation, and the beauty of it is that anything you do when you start a center is innovative, all right? So today they do all that kind of things. They develop courses on Blackboard and Moodle. They assist faculty with Web 2.0 technologies. They train them in the use of lecture capture, things that we have added as the year goes by. Support them with clickers, Google applications, all of that is done. So the thing is, the faculty, if they feel that they need something, they would come and they have an appointment, and they can keep the student, or we call them the student technology, the STA, for the entire semester or more. And it works really very well. It worked so well, actually, that the library wanted some more STAs to work in the library for different reasons. So the program we had these two types. This gives you a little bit of an idea of how many faculty typically use these STAs. The two peaks that you have over here were happening in 2011 and 2010. These were crisis times. One of them was the H1N1 thing where the university had to close. So faculty was panicking. They wanted help in the technology so that they can communicate with their students and so on and so forth. All right, so this is one I would call today, definitely it's a core innovation. Once you get something that works, it becomes part of a regular program. It's institutionalized, but you have to make sure that it is sustainable. In other words, the reason our model is sustainable is that most of these students don't cost us much money. All it costs us is our training, but many of them are they call them work-study students, and we have a budget for the others that are not work-study students. So that's sustainable. We have also a newsletter, and the newsletter mostly are a faculty that write in it. Our members for the Center of Learning and Teaching write, and it's a bi-weekly newsletter that's been going on and on and on and on to today. I keep saying, there'll come a time where it's become boring. There'll come a time where we won't have people writing, but so far it hasn't happened. And the beauty of the newsletter is that it helps you disseminate whatever you would like to disseminate that is part of that's going on in your campus or otherwise. All right, I'm going to go a little bit further quickly here. We have also every now and then we have symposium where faculty can share what they've been doing and getting, again, this is recognizing something that they're doing, some innovation that they're doing with the campus or with outside. we have a lot of workshops that go on and on and on, and typically the attendance is between 5 to 20 per workshop, and you have about 16 every semester. Formative assessment is something that we really were very timid at introducing, because faculty don't like to be, you don't have somebody looking over their shoulder. But it worked well because you've given them feedback. You are not evaluating them, and that was extremely important. We never evaluate faculty. We give them feedback, and it's confidential. And as you see, it went out from the timid thing and boomed up, and we have quite a bit of it going on today. Mostly it happens in the mid-semester because that's when they can make some changes. So that's another core innovation that worked well. And of course, in the institutes, what we do, we try to help disseminate everything that we've been talking about, all these new methodologies, the strategies. I've lumped them over here as all of them is active learning. But all these things, we have things like, community-based learning, peer instruction, concept mapping, all of these. With the years, we have built the experience to how it works, what works best, and we've been able to tailor it for individual faculties. So that's. And we encourage our faculty to participate very much. And that works, because once they participate, they become advocates. They are your advocates. They're telling what, that what, I have to tell you that, I'll go back. I don't know if I can go back here. But in that picture, there are some of the faculty that started off, that came to us as to get, they were junior faculties and they were coming, working to improve their teaching and so on. They themselves become facilitators, and now 3 of them are deans. All right? So once you have them, they started off with you, and 10 years later, some of them are deans, and so you do get the administrative support that you need in doing things. Okay, then once you've done that, there are things from time to time that is very new that you want to try. So we wanted to try, for example, and we help support them. We wanted to try, for example, we have here lecture capture. Lecture capture allows you to capture the lecture, put it online, and students can see them later on. And so anyway, so that was we've done that. We support assignments that are not your typical assignments, and help faculty, assess them if they want, and support them. The big idea is that you have to have support there as they're going along. Flipping the classroom is one thing. It hasn't caught up very far, a lot yet. It's in between the disruptive, if you wish, and the evolutionary, between the two. And some of them are going to try, and we'll see how that works. So we haven't reached yet this, that's one thing that's not there. And then among the disruptive innovation that some members of the Center for Learning and Teaching are passionate about, and I have to calm them down because it's not going to, it will not have a lot of advocates, is gamification. Gamification, how do you introduce, speaking of wanting to motivate your students, that works. But it's not easy, and it's not but I have 3 faculty members, including Dr. Hoda Mustafa, who's here with us today, that have found passion in that and have found some faculty that are interested will be doing it. So that is a disruptive innovation. I do not think it's going to take off, with the majority of the faculty. But it's always good to try, because you're always learning something with the thing. And then the biggest disruptive innovation that has evolved in the last 3 years or 2 years, slowly. AUC has been very slow at adopting online or blended learning, very slow. AUC administration sees itself as a liberal arts education, means that students have to be on campus, students have to have face-to-face teaching and learning with their faculty. Even if you want to teach outside the classroom, then you can use technology as long as it's web enhanced, but not seat time. This has changed a little bit in the last 3 years. First of all, we've gone, as you know, through pangs of revolutionary excitement, if you wish, and there were times when the university was closed. And the times the university was closed, the faculty were in deep, and the students were in big trouble. How are you going to, get things? It was closed for 3 weeks. Any more time than that, and we would lose our accreditation. So there was this hurry. We have to have, thank God we had lecture capture, the Center for Learning and Teaching had, the members were running all over trying to get the faculty to get ready for it, and luckily some of these technologies are easy, and so on. So the need arose that we are not ready for really any online teaching. And, so that, as anything happens, I think institutions of higher education are the slowest to change. So it's been taking a year of task forces and so on to decide that maybe we should, pilot blended learning. So we are in the phase of piloting them. Last March, the provost gave 4 grants to faculty members to develop blended learning courses with our help. We've developed a 1-month training course for blended learning, and they are going to be taught and assessed for the first time this spring. Over here, we had this blended learning day to disseminate the idea among the faculty, and so we're working at it. So for us, this is a disruptive innovation. May not be disruptive for some of your universities where there are but for us it is, and we are working on it. Another thing that is a disruptive innovation in which the center is involved with is the MOOCs. Queen Rania Foundation in Jordan has decided that the MOOCs are mostly in English or other languages, but mostly in English. That means that 80% of the Arab world are cut off from MOOCs. They're not getting that free education. And so they put in their money and did a consortium or an arrangement with edX, which is the Harvard-MIT consortium, and developed a MOOC platform by the name of Idrak, and in which they are giving Arabic MOOCs, and they've started. The first one was last May. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm almost done. And so the MOU was signed in May 2014. AUC has promised to give 2 courses a year, and the Center for Learning and Teaching will be helping faculty develop these MOOCs. So for us, that's another. MOOCs are very different to teach or design than online teaching. So we're involved in that, and so for the CLT, that is another disruptive innovation. I want to end up by saying that for any organization, and this is something that is from the business world, I've learned that there's something called a learning organization. And a learning organization is one that really gets itself ready for change all the time. And to do that, they're really giving opportunity for the members of that organization to evolve, to learn from each other, to learn, actually. And I think we definitely, at the Center for Learning and Teaching, has reached that point. It was a grassroots movement. The members themselves have taken it upon ourselves, is that there's no money coming in for professional development. We don't, the university is going through a terrific budgetary crisis. So it's been little by little, we are teaching ourselves. We meet and we discuss things, we discuss theories, we read articles, and it's a learning community, and I think with it, it's making a big fat difference. So I think I've stuck to my time, if I'm not incorrect, and I'll be very happy to answer any questions as we go along. And I thank you very much for your attention.